Good afternoon, everybody. We are members of OPEC. Our topic today is OPEC. We are going to answer 3 questions to help you guys acquire some basic information about this operation. The first question is, what is OPEC? Then, why is OPEC considered as a cartel? And the last one, why the OPEC often fail to keep the oil price so high? Now let's discover some things about OPEC.
So what exactly is OPEC? OPEC stands for the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. It's made up of 12 countries including Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, Kuwait, and Iran. The group controls about 80% of the world's oil reserves and 45% of global production. OPEC was founded in 1960 in a bid to control the export of oil to the rest of the world. In 1973, OPEC issued an embargo against the United States and parts of Europe, leading to oil shortages and a global economic downturn. OPEC's subsequent influence declined during the 80s and 90s until the events of September 11, 2001, which saw oil prices rise once more. Today, however, has seen the influence of OPEC drastically reduce. In November, crude was trading below $80 a barrel.
So that's a brief introduction about OPEC. Now let's answer the second question. Why is OPEC considered as a cartel? Firstly, what's a cartel?
Professor Siegfried, what is a cartel?
Well, Simon, a cartel is an illegal association of producers bringing to market the same or similar products, who cooperate with each other to influence the market. While they may appear to be competing with each other, their actions such as fixing prices, restricting output, dividing markets or rigging tender bids are based on self-interest. The most recent example of a cartel was between Unilever and Procter & Gamble, who were found guilty of price-fixing washing powder in 8 European countries.
Thanks, Professor, for defining a cartel.
So what are the reasons? Firstly, because of its source of power. This comes from the explicit agreement between the dominant players in the industry. They together influence the market by setting production quantity and prices. As for price, it's high. Since the cartel members agree to restrict their supply to raise the global oil price. What are products of OPEC members? They are all oil-producing countries. Therefore, their products are undifferentiated. What about the entry? It's not free to enter the industry. The barrier is economies of scale, which is a property whereby the long-run average total cost falls as the quantity of output increases. And the last question, why OPEC fails to keep the price of oil high? We will explain it by elasticity of demand and the prisoner's dilemma. As OPEC members decide to reduce their supply to the market to raise the price of oil. Elasticity of demand differs between the short run and the long run. Although the oil price is high in the short run, it's not easy to make substantial changes in energy consumption. The consumer's reaction towards increasing price is almost unchanged, as they can hardly find any close substitutes for oil. Therefore, their demand is relatively inelastic. After the experimented periods of time, however, consumers have more alternatives. Customers purchase fuel-efficient vehicles or work from home, use public transportation. Similarly, firms began shifting to energy-saving way of manufacturing goods and services. The demand for gasoline began to fall. Hence, the demand for oil is more elastic. Let's look at the following graph to gather deeper understanding. When the supply of oil first, the response depends on the time horizon. In the short run, the supply and demand are relatively inelastic. When the supply curve shifts from S1 to S2, the price rises substantially. By contrast, in the long run, supply and demand are relatively elastic. The same size shift in the supply curve causes a smaller increase in the price. Compare the price increase in the short run and in the long run. You can see a major difference between them. Therefore, OPEC often appears to keep high price in the long run. This fact can also be explained by the prisoner's dilemma. When OPEC limits oil production, it keeps the price of oil and profits high. But those high profits give each member the incentive to cheat leader. By producing a little more oil, an individual country can earn more. Let's take an example. As the above table shows, there are 4 outcomes if firm A treats at its oil output. Firm B does not. This situation, firm A will have a profit of 5 instead of a profit of 3. If firm A treats the best cost of operation of firm B also treats, this way firm A will have a profit of 2 instead of 1. Therefore, regardless of what firm B decides, firm A always treats at its output. Unluckily, firm B has the same thinking. This leads to both countries overproducing oil. But if all members treat, total production rises, hence the price of oil first. Cheating is another factor making OPEC fail to maintain the high price. We have just finished answering 3 questions. Let's sum up. After this video, you learn about OPEC's history, the reasons why it's a cartel, and why it fails to maintain the high price of oil. So, that's it. Thank you. We have just finished answering 3 questions. Let's sum up. After this video, you learn about OPEC's history, the reasons why it's a cartel, and why it fails to maintain the high price of oil. So, that's it. Thank you.